Let's test our levels of imagination. I am so sorry. Alright, so for anyone who hasn't seen the first Spontaneous Stories episode, basically how it works is I pull up Readsy prompts and look for their options for prompts. Then I take a few minutes to come up with characters and how it'll shape the plot of the story, and then I'll tell the story from off the top of my head. Now, before we get into this episode, I have a quick question. So as you can see, we're almost at our 100th episode. So what would you like me to do for the 100th episode special? I'll be leaving a Q&A below for the Spotify listeners. And if you listen on a site that has commenting, then feel free to comment on what you'd like me to do. How I can even prepare a 1 hour plus long episode of me reading my works, maybe even read the first chapters of Flame Rip and Arctic Blaze, or play some video games. Let me know whatever you'd like to see. Alright, now let's get into this week's episode. Alright, so I've Readsy pulled up, and for anyone who'd like to check out the website, I'll gladly leave the link to it in the description below. So now let's just look through a few examples and such. See what we got. So let's see. Feeling watched, standing tall, a roll of the dice, leveling up, happy holidays. Oh, these are the writing contests. Is there an option for prompts? That's a story. Prompts. Okay. There we go. So start your story with someone entering a taxi and saying, "Follow that car." Next is write about a character who wishes they could just disappear. And then they do. Write a story where someone's paranoia is justified. Ooh, someone diagnosed with paranoia? I know many ways to write paranoia. That was not proper English. Set your story in a society where everyone is constantly aware of unwanted surveillance. That is, yeah, like it says, that is just a dystopia. Start your story with a home alarm system going off. Interesting. These prompts are actually pretty good this week. Damn. Write a story that includes someone saying, "Let's go for a walk." Write about a character who, for whatever reason, retreats to a remote cabin. Write about a character who's climbing a mountain, whether internal, external, or both. Let's see. Alright, so we've gotten a few good ones. I want to do something on paranoia, but I feel like Spontaneous Stories isn't good enough to properly convey that. So that'd be better for an actual written down story. Let's see, set your story. Yeah, actually, yeah, I'm going to choose set your story in a society where everyone is constantly constantly aware of unwanted surveillance. So yeah, let's do that. And end this recording. Alright, so now that the prompt has been picked, I will now take a few moments to come up with the characters, and then it will be storytelling time. Alright, I am ready. Let's do this. Alright, so Jack and Tim lived on a street. It is an old, decrepit street, covered in vines, gun holes within the buildings, broken glass everywhere, and little drones. Well, they know it's little drones. No traveler from far away would be aware that they're drones. To them they may appear as just dust, or even the birds may even appear as just birds. But for the people living within this town, of this old, decrepit town that goes by the name of America, I'm sorry, they can everyone present is clearly aware of the drones and the surveillance that is always on them. But one night, a young boy named Tim decides, I forgot the original names, decides to go on a little trip, an adventure, if you will, to outside of the borders, wanting to travel into Canada. But the drones would follow him. He was only 5 at the time, not entirely aware of the world he lived in, not entirely aware of the own phone he was born with. Just placed within his pocket is the drone itself, surveilling him in his every movement, his every heartbeat, his every voice, his every thought. Everyone's surveillanced in this world. Even a poor little 5-year-old boy who hasn't even learned his alphabet yet. Yeah, he managed to make his way close to the border. Then he started seeing sights of snow. He's never experienced snow before. He grew up in the Wild West. Wild West is America? I don't know. I'm not good at history or geography. Anyways, he grew up in the Wild West. Good old Texas. Before they've experienced their first snowfall due to climate change. That's the biggest dystopia right there. I'm constantly pausing between this. Due to climate change. And well, he wasn't entirely sure on what that snow was. He figured it was a bunch of tiny little drones that he was told about when he was younger, all just stockpiled up on top of one another. So, he ventured across the border. But little did he know, everyone was after him. His family, the government, both Canadian and American. For the Canadians figured that if a person were to be trying to leave their country, then they must be in danger. Well, he's not necessarily in danger, just constantly under unwanted surveillance. Much like his parents, they were always watched. They were never comfortable with it, especially when creating Tim. But they continued to go along with it, because they had no other choice. And well, Tim was eventually crossed that border, but he was soon brought back, unknowingly. He was knocked out, or so he believed, possibly blacked out or drugged. Perhaps the snow made him lose his consciousness and turned him into a mindless zombie. Only there's so few people who'd really know the truth. And so, Tim woke up in his bed that day, cameras surrounding him. Well, they were his stuffed animals, but he knew what was beneath them. Their lifeless eyes, constantly, like a constant heartbeat that he would hear as a low hum in the dead of night. His parents came running into his room after one of the surveillance cameras alerted them that he had awoken. His mother cried, his father yelled, but the consensus was made. Sure, surveillance is bad, and yes, it's unwanted. But it did bring their kids back. However, this is not the story they want to continue living with. They decide to make their way to Canada together, decide to do it a legal way, as in changing their civilization. They successfully made it, and soon they were addicted to maple syrup. The end. Alright, that is my story. I lost my train of thought there. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd recommend you try doing something like this yourselves. It helps with creativity and assists you with the ability of thinking on the spot. I have the feeling I talked really quietly during that because I was thinking at the same time. Now, check out my novels Death Chill Flame Rip and Arctic Blaze on Amazon and Kobo, link in description. Check out the Creative Writing Club Patreon, link in description. Check out the Creative Writing Club Discord server in description. Check out my personal Instagram at dark_night_wolves. And how about we take this specially spontaneous meeting into its end?